Book of Heaven, Volume 9, Part 2. October 1st, 1909. Jesus counts, weighs, and measures everything in the soul, so that nothing may be lost, and she may be repaid for everything. Being very afflicted because of my poor state, I felt nauseating to myself and abominable before God. I felt as if the Lord had left me halfway on the path, and without Him I feel I cannot go on any further. I feel He no longer wants to use me in order to spare the world the chastisements, and so He has moved crosses and thorns away from me. He has discontinued all my sharing in His passion, the communications. The only thing I see is that He is on the alert, so that I remain at peace. My God, what pain! If you yourself did not keep me distracted from these losses, of crosses, of you, and of everything, I would die of grief. Ah, if it wasn't for your holy will, into what a sea of troubles I would have fallen. Oh, keep me always in your holy will. This is enough for me. Now, as I was in my usual state, I was crying and saying to myself, "Good Jesus has taken me into no account, nor the years of bed, nor the sacrifices, nothing. Otherwise He would not have left me." And I cried and cried. At that moment I felt Him move in my interior, and I lost consciousness. But also outside of myself I kept crying. And then, as if a door had opened in my interior, I saw Jesus. I felt huffy, and I did not say anything to Him. I just kept crying. Jesus told me, "Calm yourself, calm yourself. Do not cry. If you cry, I feel my heart touched, and I faint with love for you. Do you want to increase my pains because of your love?" Then, assuming a majestic air, as though sitting on a throne within my heart, He seemed to hold a pen in His hand and to write. And turning to me, He said, "See whether I do not take your things into account, not only the years of bed, the sacrifices, but even the thoughts you have for me. I am writing your affections, your desires, everything, everything, even that which you would want to do or suffer, but you don't because I do not concede it to you. I count, weigh, and measure everything, so that nothing may be lost, and you may be repaid for everything. And as I write it, I keep it in my own heart." Then I do not know how I found myself in Jesus, while before I was in my interior. It seemed that the head of Jesus was in the place of my head, and all of my members served as His body. And He repeated, "See how I keep you, like the members of my own body." And He disappeared. After a little while, as I continued to be afflicted, bursting into crying every so often, Jesus came back and told me, "My daughter, courage! I have not left you. Rather, I am hidden, because if I let myself be seen as before, you would bind me everywhere, and I would not be able to chastise the world in anything. nor have I left you halfway on the path. Don't you remember what these last years of your life are? These are the years wanted by your confessor. Don't you remember that, not once, but as many as 4 or 5 times, you found yourself fighting with me? I wanted to take you with me, and you would tell me that obedience did not want it. And while I had prepared you in order to take you with me, I was forced to leave you again. Look now at the consequences you are bearing. These are years of pause and of patience. Charity and obedience have their own thorns that open large wounds and make the heart bleed. But they make the most ruby red, fragrant, and beautiful roses bloom. In fact, in seeing in your confessor the fruit of his goodwill and charity and fear that the world might be chastised, because of this, I somehow concurred with him. But if I had not found anyone who would pray me and interpose himself, you would certainly not be here. But come, courage. The exiles shall not be too long after all, and I promise you that the day shall come when I shall not let myself be overcome by anyone. Who can tell in what bitterness I swim? Comforted, yes, but embittered down to the marrow of my bones. I cannot remember this without crying, so much so that in telling it to the confessor, the heat of my tears was such that it seemed I would get upset with him, and I truly said to him, "You have been the cause of my troubles." October 4th, 1909. The thought of oneself must be stopped in order to do what Jesus does. Continuing in my state of affliction and loss of my blessed Jesus, I was all occupied in my interior, according to my usual way, with the hours of the Passion. The hour I am talking about is that in which Jesus loaded the heavy wood of the cross upon himself. The whole world was present to me, past, present, and future. My whole imagination seemed to see all the sins of all generations, that pressed and almost crushed benign Jesus, so much so that the cross was nothing but a twig of straw, a shadow of weight compared to all sins. And I tried to draw near Jesus, saying, "See my life, my good. I shall stay here in the place of all of them." Do you see how many waves of blasphemies? I am here to repeat that I bless you for all. How many waves of bitternesses, of hatreds, of scorns, of ingratitudes, of so very little love. And I want to soothe you for all, love you for all, thank you, adore you, honor you for all. But my reparations are cold, meager, finite. You, who are he who is offended, are infinite. Therefore I want to render infinite also my reparations and my love. And in order to make it infinite, immense, endless, I unite myself with you, with your own divinity, even more with the Father and with the Holy Spirit. And I bless you with your own blessings. I love you with your love. I soothe you with your own sweetnesses. I honor you. I adore you, as you do among yourselves, divine persons. But who can tell all the nonsense I was saying? I would never end if I wanted to say everything. When I find myself in the hours of the Passion, I feel that, together with Jesus, I too embrace the immensity of his work, and for all and for each one I glorify God. I repair, I impetrate for all, and therefore I find it difficult to say everything. So while I was doing this, a thought told me, "You are thinking about the sins of others, and what about your own? Think about yourself, repair for yourself." So I tried to think about my evils, my great miseries, the privations of Jesus caused by my sins, and getting distracted from the usual things of my interior, I cried over my great misfortune. At that moment, my always lovable Jesus moved in my interior, and with sensible voice told me, "Do you want to arbitrate yourself? The work of your interior is not yours, but mine. You do nothing but follow me. The rest I do all by myself. The thought of yourself, you must stop. You must do nothing but what I want, and I shall take care of your evils and goods. Who can do more good to you, yourself or I?" And he showed himself displeased. So I began to follow him. But after a little while, as I reached another point of the way to Calvary, at which more than anywhere else I would penetrate into the different intentions of Jesus, a thought told me, "Not only must you stop the thought of sanctifying yourself, but also that of being saved. Don't you see that by yourself you are good at nothing? What good can ever come to you by doing this for others?" Turning to Jesus, I said to him, "My Jesus, are your blood, your pains, your cross not there for me? I have been so bad that, having trampled them under my feet with my sins, maybe you have exhausted them for me. But oh, please forgive me. And if you do not want to forgive me, leave me your will, and I shall be content. Your will is everything for me. I have remained alone without you, and you alone can know the loss I suffered. I have no one. Creatures without you bore me. I feel I am in this prison of my body, like a slave in chains. At least, for pity's sake, do not take your holy will away from me." So while thinking of this, I got distracted again from my interior, and Jesus again made me hear his voice, louder and more imposing, saying, "You don't want to stop it? Do you want to waste my work in you?" I don't know, as if he had silenced my mind. I tried to follow him and to stop it. October 6, 1909. The virtues of true love are to purify everything, to triumph over everything, to reach everything. After I received communion, my always lovable Jesus came for a little while, and since I had had a discussion with the confessor on the nature of true love, I wanted to ask Jesus whether I was right or wrong. And he said to me, "My daughter, it is exactly like that, as you were saying, that true love facilitates everything, excludes any fear, any doubt, and all of its art is in taking possession of the beloved. And when it has made her its own, Love itself provides her with the means in order to preserve the object acquired. Now what fear, what doubt can a soul have about something that belongs to her? What can she not hope for? Even more, when she has come to take possession of it, love becomes daring and reaches the point of taking excesses up to the incredible. True love can say, "There is no longer yours and mine. I am yours, and you are mine. So we can dispose of each other, delight in each other, enjoy each other. If I have acquired you, I want to use you as I please." How can the soul in this state of true love go fishing for defects, miseries, weaknesses, if the object acquired has condoned her everything, embellishes her with everything, and the object that she possesses keeps purifying her continuously? These are the virtues of true love: to purify everything, to triumph over everything, to reach everything. In fact, what love can there be for a person whom one fears, about whom one doubts, from whom one does not hope for everything? Love would lose the best of its qualities. It is true that even in the saints one can see this, and this shows that in the saints love can be imperfect, and can have its variety, according to the state in which they find themselves. In you, the thing is very different. Since you should be in heaven with me, and you have sacrificed this for love of obedience and of your neighbor, love has been confirmed in you. The will has been confirmed in not offending me. Therefore your life is like a life that has already passed, and this is why you do not feel the burden of your miseries. So, be well attentive on what befits you, and on loving me up to the infinite love. October 7th, 1909. Caution and jealousy of Jesus in surrounding with thorns both soul and body of creatures. As I was in my usual state, blessed Jesus came for just a little and told me, "My daughter, my jealousy and the caution I have for my creatures is such and so great, that in order not to let them be ruined, I am forced to surround them with thorns, both soul and body, so that the thorns may keep away from them the mud that could dirty them. This is why, my daughter, I surround with thorns, that is, with bitternesses, with privations, with different interior states, also my greatest favors, with which I favor the souls who are dear to me, so that these thorns may not only keep them, but prevent their getting dirty with the mud of love of self and the like." And he disappeared. October 14th, 1909. Proofs that it is Jesus that goes to Luisa. Continuing in my usual state, I seemed to find myself with a baby in my arms, and from one they became 3, and I felt all immersed in them. Now, in the morning, when the confessor came, he asked me whether Jesus had come, and I told him what is written above, without adding anything else. The confessor told me, "Didn't they tell you anything? Didn't you understand anything?" And I can't say it well. And he continued, "The whole Trinity was here, and you can say nothing? You have become more stupid. It shows that these are dreams. And yes, it is true that they are dreams. He continued to say other things, and while the confessor was speaking, I felt clasped so very tightly by the arms of Jesus, to the point of losing consciousness. And Jesus told me, "Who is it that wants to molest my daughter?" And Father is right. Since I am unable to say anything, they have no sign that it is Jesus Christ that comes to me. And Jesus continued, "I act with you as the sea would with a person who would go and dive into the depth of the sea. I plunge all of you into my being in such a way that all of your senses remain inundated, and in such a way that if you want to speak of my immensity, depth, and height, you can only say that it was so great that your sight was lost. If you want to speak of my delights, of my qualities, you can say that they are such and so many, that as you went about opening your mouth to count them, you were drowned in them, and so with all the rest. Besides, what is this? I have given no sign that it was I. False. Who has kept you in bed for 22 years without breaking you, and with full calm and patience? Has it perhaps been their virtue, or my virtue? And what about the tests they made during the first years of this state of yours, or making you remain immobile for 10, 7, or 18 days without taking any of the necessary nourishments? Were they perhaps the ones who maintained you, or was it I? Then, since Father had called me, I returned into my cell. Then, as the confessor celebrated Holy Mass, I received communion, and Jesus came back. I lamented to Jesus that he was not coming as before, that the great love he had for me seemed to have turned into coldness. It is true that as I lament to you, you always give excuses, that you want to chastise, and this is why you do not come. But I don't believe it. Who knows what evil there is in my soul, and because of it you do not come? Tell me at least, for at any cost, even of giving my life, I shall remove it. But without you I cannot be. Think what you want. In this way I cannot go on. Either with you on earth, or with you in heaven. And blessed Jesus, interrupting my speaking, told me, "Calm yourself, calm yourself. I am not far away from you, but I am always with you. You do not always see me, but I am always with you. Even more, I am in your inmost heart, in order to rest. And as you look for me and bear my privations with patience, you surround me with flowers to cheer me, and make me rest more peacefully." And while he was saying this, it seemed that there were many varieties of flowers around Jesus that almost concealed him. Then he added, "You don't believe that I keep you deprived of me in order to chastise? Yet it is so. When you least expect it, you shall hear of the things that shall happen." And while saying this, he showed me, in the world, wars, revolutions against the church, churches on fire, and this was almost imminent. November 2nd, 1909. One should never look at the past, but at the present. Continuing in my usual state, I was thinking about my things of the past, And blessed Jesus, making himself seen for just a little, told me, "My daughter, do not look at the past, because the past is already in me, and can be of distraction for you, and it can make you mistake that little bit of path that is left for you to cover. In fact, your turning to the past makes you slow your pace on the present journey, and so you lose time and do not advance on your way. On the other hand, by looking only at the present, you shall have more courage, and you shall remain more closely united with me. You shall advance more on your path, and there shall be no danger of your being mistaken." November 4th, 1909. With his beatitude, God renders all heaven blissful, because everything is harmony in him. Having received communion, I was saying to my adorable Jesus, "I am now tightly united with you. Even more, I am identified with you. If we are one single thing, I leave my being in you, and I take yours. So I leave you my mind, and I take yours. I leave you my eyes, my mouth, my heart, my hands, my steps. Oh, how happy I shall be from now on! I shall think with your mind. I shall look with your eyes. I shall speak with your mouth. I shall love with your heart. I shall work with your hands. I shall walk with your feet. And if something comes to me, I shall say, I left my being in Jesus, and I took his own. Go to Jesus, and he shall answer you for me." Oh, how blissful I feel. Ah, yes, I take from you also your beatitude. Isn't it true, Jesus? But my life and my good, with your beatitude, you render all heaven blissful. While if I take your beatitude, I make no one blissful. And Jesus told me, "My daughter, you too, by taking all of my being, along with my beatitude, can make others blissful. Why has my being the virtue of beatifying? Because everything is harmony in me. One virtue harmonizes with the other. Justice with mercy, sanctity with beauty, wisdom with strength, immensity with depth and height, and so with all the rest. Everything is harmony in me. Nothing is discordant. These harmonies make me blissful, and I beatify all those who draw near me. So, as you take my being, be careful that all virtues harmonize among themselves, and this harmony shall communicate beatitude to whomever draws near you, because in seeing goodness, sweetness, patience, charity, and equality in everything in you, they shall feel blissful being near you." November 6, 1909. The privation of Jesus purifies and consumes the soul. I was lamenting to Jesus because of his privations, and making himself seen for just a little, he told me, "My daughter, the cross unites the soul ever more closely to me. These privations that you suffer make you fly above yourself, because not finding him whom you love in you, life becomes boring to you. All the things that surround you annoy you, and you have nothing on which to lean. He on whom alone you used to lean seems to be missing in you, and therefore the soul keeps flying and flying until she is purged of everything, to the point of being consumed. And in these consummations, your Jesus shall give you the final kiss, and you shall find yourself in heaven. Aren't you happy? You have reached the end of the Book of Heaven, Volume 9, Part 2. Fiat.